Good day to you. This is continuation of reading of the book Deadly Medicine and Organized Crime: How Big Pharma Has Corrupted Healthcare. This is Kadal Amudam from Chennai, India. In 1997, Prozac was the fifth most prescribed drug in the United States. It also became the most complained about drug, and hundreds of suicides were reported. It turned out that Lilly had known since 1978 that Prozac can produce in some people a strange, agitated state of mind that can trigger in them an unstoppable urge to commit suicide or murder. By 1999, the FDA had received reports of over 2,000 Prozac associated suicides, and a quarter of the reports specifically referred to agitation and akathisia. As always, the FDA protected the drugs and not the patients. Some clinical trials data are considered trade secrets or commercially protected information. It is outrageous that a drug regulator puts profits over human lives in this way. The FDA did state later, however, that data from stress urinary incontinence trials had shown that middle-aged women taking duloxetine had a suicide attempt rate of 400 per 1 lakh person year, more than double the rate of about 160 per 1 lakh person year among other women of a similar age. This suggests that SSRIs are not only dangerous in children but also in adults. It is unbelievable and deeply criminal that healthy volunteers can die without anyone knowing about it outside the company. After 3 days of paroxetine, he sat up all night forcing himself to keep still because he wanted to kill everyone in the house. The richness of the patient's own reports was impressive. For example, many described electric shock sensations in the head and visual problems when they tried to stop. Such reactions had been coded by the authorities as dizziness or paresthesia. After a traumatic event, shock, crisis, and depression, I was prescribed happy pills without adequate information about possible side effects. A year later, I asked the psychiatrist to help me stopping the drug as I didn't feel it was helpful. When I left the psychiatrist, she had convinced me that I was undertreated and should have a higher dose. She warned me against stopping the drug as it could lead to chronic depression. During a time when the psychiatrist on long term sick leave, I got the courage, supported by a psychologist, to taper off the drug. I had been on the drug for 3.5 years and had become more and more lethargic and indifferent to everything. It was like escaping from a cheese dish cover. Tapering off is not unproblematic. It gives you a lot of abstinence symptoms. When the psychiatrist returned after her illness, she was insulted about my decision to stop the drug. However, I was much better and replied to my question that I was no longer depressed. She said, I don't know. But if I don't want happy pills, well, then I cannot help you, was the answer. I have not mentioned the name of the drug, but the psychiatrist had a close relationship to a manufacturer of happy pills. People tell me about medical students who are put on happy pills when they have difficulty with the studies, almost always with the fake myth about correcting a chemical imbalance and also comparing this with insulin for diabetes. When the students get abstinence symptoms when they try to stop, they are told that it is not abstinence but the disease that has come back and that they likely need the pills for the rest of their life. The companies, assisted by their hired psychiatrists, opinion leaders, and drug regulators suffering from self inflicted blindness, have hooked many millions of patients on drugs most of them didn't need. And when people became abstinent, whether on benzodiazepines or on SSRIs, company tactics were just the same. blame the disease and not the pills. The worst argument I have heard is that the patients are not dependent because they don't crave higher doses. If that were true, smokers are not dependent on nicotine because they don't increase their consumption of cigarettes. It's unbelievable what nonsense professors of psychiatry have told me in order to maintain the level of self deception in their specialty. The internal unpublished study report that became available through litigation showed that at least 8 children became suicidal and Paxil versus one-on-one placebo. This was a serious and statistically significant harm of Paxil. There were 11 serious adverse effects in total among 93 children treated with Paxil and 2 among 87 children treated with placebo. In 2008, one of my colleagues, James Langredon, received a death threat at the International AIDS Congress in Mexico City in an SMS sent a few hours before he presented data showing that GlaxoSmithKline's 600 pound million drug abacavir almost doubles the risk of heart attacks. England has the worst libel laws in the world, which don't protect the whistleblower but the perpetrators. Let me stop at this point of reading the book. I will continue in the next oncoming videos. Kindly subscribe to my channel so that we can view more videos of this nature. This is Kadal Amudam from Chennai, India, signing off. Good day to you.